We welcome you back. Dylan Brooks arriving for work in OKC, hoping the Suns can do something much better than they did the other day. When they just got throttled by the champs.
Man.
Points off turnovers, 34-2, the largest differential in
25 years?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Final was 118-94. Well, game two comes up later tonight here on ESPN, and George Sedano is going to be working the sidelines. Get me pumped up for this game two, George.
You know, Ernie, what I find fascinating about this OKC team, even as young as they are, I've always admired how mature they are and their level of confidence. I've been coming here for 3 years from when they were in the play-in a couple of years ago, and they always had that with them. But then last year, they added your son, Alex Caruso, and they leaned on him with his championship experience. And they now know what it takes to win those 16 games, but they understand the highs and lows of it. So to me, they're always fascinating to watch because they can turn the game on a dime, as you guys mentioned. You know, that game was somewhat competitive, and then all of a sudden they started turning Phoenix over and over and over again. And it's just that. They never get too high. They never get too low. Mark Daigneault calls it kind of being able to come back to zero, both in between games and certainly within the game. So I just admire what they're able to accomplish. And if you love basketball, you got to love watching OKC, Ernie.
Yes, indeed. George Sedano, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the game tonight out there at the Paycom Center in OKC. Before this series started, Devin Booker was asked, what are the keys for you going in against OKC? And he said, everything. It was that was a tough way to open a series, man.
Well, it's turnovers. You're turning the ball over, obviously, too much. You're not getting shots on possession. And then they're turning those non-shots on possession into baskets. 34-2. That sums it up. You lose by 30 points. That's where the game is won up. Protect the basketball, get a great shot, get the ball into Booker's hand, get the ball into Jalen Green's hand, and without turning the basketball over. You're going to be in the game. Can you win? Still a tall task. But there's no way you can give Oklahoma City extra possessions off of turnovers.
What do you think you do on the day off to prepare for that after that kind of a game one?
Well, I mean, you know, they're professionals, so they're definitely going to come in and play hard. But in the words of the great Rasheed Wallace, you got to play hard. You got to have a damn near perfect game against OKC. OKC is focused, they're dedicated, they're still hungry, and they want to win. They know what it takes to win. They understand to win. And they just have to, you know, do everything right. You know, Kenny made a great point. One thing you cannot do is turn the ball over against OKC. You know, Phoenix, at times, they want to get out and run and gun with OKC. I think that's a mistake, but, you know, they have to play a great game. Jaylen has to play out of his mind. Devin has to play out of his mind. We're also going to need a scoring from the crazy man, too.
They're both among the league leaders in points off turnovers. OKC #1, and they certainly showed that in game one. SGA didn't have a great shooting night. He was only 28% in the opener, but he hit more free throws than the Suns did as a team.
You know what the one thing, Chuck, when you watch Oklahoma City play defensively, watch tonight. When you watch the first game, when we're a point guard, this is why I always know, so you can bring the ball comfortably up from end line to half court. Not against Oklahoma City. They pick you up full court every possession. So all of a sudden, it takes time off the clock. I never understood. I know an 82-game schedule, but I never understood why teams allow people not to think bringing up the ball from baseline to the half-court line. Oklahoma City makes you make decisions in the backcourt as well. That's why they turn people over, and that's why they're so good.
But the number one thing that does, Ernie, to pick it back on Kenny's point, that shortens the shot clock. So if you take off 8 to 10 seconds, 12 seconds, you haven't even started your play yet. And now the shot clock's on your back. But this game is all about pride tonight. This ain't got nothing to do with X's and O's. This is about Jims and Joes. Like, when somebody just kick your ass as a player, as a man, and everybody watching.
How are you going to respond?
How are you going to respond? Now, do I think my Suns can win this series? Hell no. But as a basketball player, when you get humiliated like that, You said what you do on your off day. The coach can't show you no tape because that's Freddy Krueger type stuff. That's a horror movie. But if I'm the coach who's done a hell of a job, should get some votes for Coach of the Year. I'm saying, guys.
Jordan Ott, yeah.
Yeah, guys, we're not going to watch this tape. That was embarrassing. It was humiliating. We didn't represent Phoenix, the Suns. We got to – hey, if you guys go out there and play hard, give me everything you got, and they beat us, I can live with it. But what happened Sunday was unacceptable.
OKC had an NBA record 11 30-point wins this season. They open up these playoffs with a 35-point pounding of the Phoenix Suns. We're back to recap the first 4 days of the playoffs. We got the scoop in just a minute.
Uh-oh.
Tonight on ESPN. First, 7 Eastern, the Magic try to take a 2-0 lead on the Pistons in Detroit. They would join the 2017 Bulls as the only 8 seeds to go up 2-0 on a 1 seed in a best of 7. But don't panic, Detroit. Chicago lost that series to Boston in 6 games, so there's some hope. Then at 9:30 Eastern, the defending champion Thunder host the Suns up 1-0. OKC has won 9 straight first-round games and could become the 5th franchise with at least 10 in a row. Phoenix was one of 3 teams to beat the Thunder more than once this season. So again, for the folks in Phoenix, there's a little hope. Our basketball analyst, Chiney Ogwumike, back with us. Chiney, the Pistons have had 48 hours to reflect and to regroup after losing their playoff opener, a game that they never led once. What needs to change most for Detroit to even this series at 1 game apiece?
Jay, do you know what I want to do? I want to get some icy hot and give it to Cade Cunningham because he's been shouldering the load. That back, he's been carrying a lot. He's been carrying so much of their team offensively. He needs some help. He needs some love, okay, offensively. And I'm looking at Jalen Duren because he's an all-star, first-time all-star this year, and he's someone fully capable of creating his own shot. Now, I know it may not be the best option. You typically want that from the wing position, but at this point, it's all we got. And Jalen Duren only had 4 shot attempts in game 1. That is malpractice. That should never happen, especially when Cade Cunningham, who was cooking, he had 39 points. He shot the ball 27 times, but still they need balance and they need more from the supporting cast. And he's better than a supporting cast. He's an actual all-star, and he has to win the matchup versus Wendell Carter, who actually had 17 points and was 8 for 9. So he has to step up and take some of that pressure off of Cade Cunningham and how he's been carrying his team.
Hey, call Shaq. He probably has a bunch of icy hot. He does all the commercials yes. At the house or one of the houses.
Right.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Thunder, Chiney. For the 2nd straight year, OKC had all but sealed game 1 by halftime. Give a little credit to the Suns, though, by not losing by 51 like the Grizzlies did a year ago. What caught your eye most watching OKC?
Speaking of teams and players with no chill, right? No chill, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder and their defense. They have the best defense in the NBA, and even saying that isn't good enough. It's underselling it. They were sensational. They forced 17 turnovers, and they scored 34 points off of those turnovers compared to the Suns' 2. And guess what? Most importantly, they took care of the ball. They only committed 6 turnovers themselves. Very similar to what we saw with the Houston Rockets. They have a strategy versus the Sun Star that is doubling Devin Booker, and his teammates so far have not been able to make them pay, which is why they just keep ramping up the temperature. So, I mean, I guess it's good that you don't lose by 50, you lose by 30, but we want this to be a little bit closer. But it's hard to do that when you're going up against these guys who are just stifling defensively.
Yeah, during the regular season, OKC set the record for the most 30-point wins in a season. They had 11 of them. So that's just what they do, I guess. You can get more of Chiney, 3 p.m. Eastern, on NBA Today following the Sports Center. Chiney, thank you so much.
Always.
Coming up, more from tonight's NBA playoffs. Oklahoma City just dominating Phoenix, led by as much as 39 points in game 1. As we say howdy to our friend Tim McMahon covering this series. We saw the Thunder roll against what looked like a really tired Suns team coming out of the play-in. But the biggest thing was J-Will, right? Jaylen Williams back, missed so much of the season. What can you tell us about his return to form?
Yeah, no question J-Dub's performance was the most important element, big picture, for the Thunder. Look, they got the overall top seed with him missing the majority of the season, coming off a wrist surgery, dealing with a hamstring that he strained twice, but they know how much they need him at his best to make another championship run. And as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander said, he looked comfortable out there. He said, we're the best version of ourselves. When he's the best version of himself, we've got to keep him there. And it wasn't just playing off of Shai Alexander. The Thunder really pulled away early in the second quarter when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's resting. Jaylen Williams getting in the teeth of the defense, knocking down his mid-range, knocking down threes. That's the SGA sidekick they need for the rest of these playoffs.
Yeah, SGA and J-Dub combining for 47 points. And by the way, holding Phoenix to 30% shooting. Thanks.
Hey, speaking of the Thunder, they're currently a 17.5-point Game 2 favorite at DraftKings Sportsbook. They would be the fourth largest favorite in any playoff game since 1990-91, joining some elite company. That includes 2 first-round matchups for the Bulls in the 92 playoffs against the Miami Heat. And Joe Fortenbaugh has more on tonight's historic spread. My friend, how would you bet the Thunder in Game 2?
Fun fact about that spread. Based on market pricing, it's more likely OKC wins by 42 or more than Phoenix wins the game. Phoenix to win the game is 11-1. OKC by 42 or more is plus 1020 over at DraftKings. Insane. But to answer your question, OKC in the first half is a 5.5-point favorite. Excuse me, first quarter 5.5-point favorite. Okay. That's the bet to make. Best first quarter team in the NBA during the regular season, plus 4.1 was the scoring differential. Covered the first quarter spread in 55% of the games they played. That's 6th best in the NBA. Won the first quarter by 15 points in Game 1, and despite the blowout, they didn't even shoot all that well. 45% from the field, 30% from deep. That's down from their regular season averages of 48% from the field and 36% from deep. So imagine if they just hit their averages. It could be even worse tonight.
Okay, let's isolate a player prop in Magic Pistons. Who are you looking at there?
Cade Cunningham's assist prop is 9.5. Let's play the over there. This is a guy who averaged 9.9 assists per game during the regular season in just 34 minutes of action. Playoffs, he should be playing more. Only had 4 assists in Game 1 because his teammates weren't knocking down any shots.
Nope.
You can't have assists if your teammates aren't knocking down shots. Cunningham hit this mark, 10 or more assists, in 58% of the games he played this season, which is a good mark. But the key to this is style of play. In Game 1, a Pistons loss, he had 39 points on 27 shots. That is not Pistons basketball. They are at their best when Cunningham is scoring, but also facilitating, being a playmaker. I think you see more of that tonight, and we get 10 or more assists.
We will see, Joe Fortenbaugh. Thank you, bro. All right, again, NBA playoffs, first round continuing tonight. Game 2, ESPN doubleheader. The Pistons